Hey everybody, welcome back to Northernlion Plays the Binding of Isaac AFTERBIRTH Plus. Last run, I don't know, we were adrift. We've been adrift on a lot of these runs. What on earth? Okay, Hemolacria, Blue Candle. Which means, actually, this is not a traditional run. I would never suggest that. However, it doesn't seem bad. It actually seems like a pretty rapid-firing Hemolacria. Blue Candle's obviously amazing. HP early is awesome. I'm not sore about this one being weird, you know? I don't want to be like a hardline traditionalist when it comes to Isaac, the kind of guy that is like, I only want 4 rate of fire, 11 damage runs with piercing shots, or I'm quitting. That's not me. I like the Zane. I just like when there's a foundation in reality before the Zane starts to show up. Or it has to be good Zane, which we have not always been lucky enough to achieve recently. How on earth? Excuse me? We dipped betwixt the poops? You're lucky this is like the second video I'm recording today. Because if it was like the 8th video, spontaneously saying we dipped betwixt the poops would have set me off in the kind of like laughing fit that I don't think I ever would have recovered from. But since we're on the second, you know, it's 1:45 p.m., pretty early on in the day. We can't get that silly yet. We got a veneer of professionalism we need to maintain. Allow me to leave, please. I still wanted to see if we had arcade chances, but it's pretty unlikely. I'm gonna pop this for black market chances. Was not even worth a shot, but it's not like we were doing anything else. So this run has started with style and aplomb. What does aplomb mean? Let me look it up. I learned it from not a Backstreet Boys song, an Offspring song. Self-confidence or assurance, especially when in a demanding situation. Put that in your SATs and smoke them. Aplomb, self-assuredness, especially when in a difficult situation. You know what we need is like, I understand the desire for standardized testing, you know? Because I'm not going to say it troubled me, but I always thought this when I was in school. So I was like, I got really, really good marks in high school, but how do I know if, you know, a 95 at my little rural high school in Eastern Ontario is the same as a 95 at like a private school in Toronto or something like that. So I understand the desire for standardized testing, and to be honest, our school always performed extremely badly in standardized testing. Can't remember if I've ever told this anecdote, but there's a standardized chemistry test in like 11th or 12th grade here, I can't remember. So in our chemistry class, our teacher just picked like the 4 students with the highest marks and was like, hey, you guys get to write this standardized chemistry test for the glory of our school. So we were like sick. We get to skip a lecture, and then we sit in this room together and fill out a standardized test. And I'm going to be honest, they were like, the way that the scoring measure worked was you got 1 point for a correct answer. You got 0 points for skipping a question, and you got negative 0.25 for answering a question incorrectly. So that it was incentivized to actually suggest that if you have no idea, you skip a question. Or maybe it was 0.5 for an incorrect answer. I can't remember. I wish that had spawned before I had pressed it. And I kind of like that system, if I'm not trying to be like a jerk teacher or anything like that, but I like the idea that that means that you are not going to be as likely to guess at questions that you don't understand. If you're 50% confident, you should guess, but if you're, 0% confident, you're not getting any ill-gotten grades, is what I'm saying. This is not braggadocious, because I have no alchemical knowledge whatsoever. But I got the highest mark out of the 4 of us on it, and my strategy was just answer every question and then hope you beat the odds. Even the ones I didn't understand. I knew like 25% of the exam was cold. I had it under control. And then like the other 75, I was like, I got no idea, but maybe I'll get lucky. And I did get lucky. And then in assembly, they were like, with the highest mark on the chemistry test, Ryan Letourneau. And then, you know, I had the highest mark by like 1/4 of a point and was like, this is great. I am a genius. But really, if you had looked at it by a percentage-based score, I actually got like 35% on the exam or something like that. But we need a standardized test for life, is what I was going to say with that original anecdote. We need a standardized, because right now the SATs, that's for me. When it comes to SAT questions, you know, what do I do in my daily life? I create metaphors, like that metaphor about how having a child is like smacking the side of a Pringles can. You know, the things in your life that are misaligned, they're either going to get in line or they're going to crack. That came off the top of the dome piece, and that's what the SAT and the ACT basically are, you know. Malice is to greed as wrath is to blank, you know? You gotta come up with stuff like that at the top of your head. It's like Dan Giesling's specialty as well. We need an SAT for life that is like, hey, you know, your light bulb is out. How do you fix it? And then you write like a short answer question. A lot of people wouldn't know how to answer that, or they would answer it improperly, incorrectly. Hey, you have to boil water. How do you do it, you know? I think that we should really spend at least like a year. This is why I actually think, and this is a very common conversational thread for me. I was a STEM major, but I think in high school, you could do away with like a couple of science and math classes and then make home economics a prerequisite. I'm not saying I want everybody out there to be a seamstress or a tailor or a cobbler. I'm just saying, I didn't take home ec. I learned the skills, quote unquote, on the job in college, you know? I'm not a very handy guy. Get out of here, please, with this Isaac Sart. But I know how to cook. You can give me, if you give me a cut of meat and a vegetable and then a spice rack, I could make you something slightly above edible. You know, something I'd be like, it's chicken Francois. You'd be like, oh, this is not bad. That was the genesis of my life in college. You know, a lot of college students. Well, historically, like I always thought when you go to college is when you eat ramen noodles and Kraft macaroni and cheese and you order pizza all the time. Nah, we went to the grocery store. We bought the cheapest cuts of meat and then cooked them in a way to make them as delicious as possible. I was high roasting chickens in college, when I probably should have been doing a little bit more homework. But anyway, that's what I think, like, I could have done away with, like, 10th grade biology and just replaced that with a class where they teach you, like, hey, here's how you boil water, here's how you make pasta, here's how you make rice. Like, I've been in this situation before, and it boggles my mind, you know, in Korean barbecue, you get the meat raw. It comes to your table raw, most of the time. And then there's a little grill or a fire or a barrel in the center of your table with a metallic sieve on top of it, and you cook the meat yourself. I've been out to eat Korean barbecue with people that are like, how do you know when the meat is done? And you just kind of, I have to remember that not everybody has that, I guess, college experience where you go, well, it changes color. That's how you know it's done. You know, not every meat is the same, but, you know, beef changes color, and then you just decide, like, I'm hungry. Okay, maybe there's a little pink on the inside, maybe there isn't, you're good to go. You don't need instructions. There's like a... It has a visual indicator of when it is basically ready to consume. And I feel bad that that's not known to more and more people out there. That's why I'm always glad that I got into the... I mean, it didn't exist when I was in college, really, but that I got into the streaming thing after I had some time to not hinge my hopes on sitting inside all the time. And you know, I thought I was going to have to adjust and become a part of normal society. Thankfully, that's not the case anytime soon. But, because I had to learn all that stuff. When I was in high school, didn't like soup, too watery. Didn't like rice. You know why I didn't like rice? I know if you're a long-time viewer, you're going to answer the question yourself. I am an idiot for that, by the way. But if you're a long-time viewer, you're going to answer the question. is too much work. It's too much work to eat that many of a food item. I thought this prior to the Mitch Hedberg joke of the same premise, by the way. Not that he stole it from me, but I'm just saying, great minds think alike. Let's go to our shop. Basically, the most, like, foreign, not North American food that I would eat was, like, pizza. I'm like, yeah, I like Italian food, pepperoni pizza. Ooh, onions on it. No thanks. Ate a lot of chicken fingers. Then I went to university, and I had to reconcile, because, you know, I had a meal plan the first year. I had to reconcile. I was like, I can't eat pizza, hamburgers, French fries every day, or this is not going to be a fun college experience for me, you know? I'm not going to get a freshman 15. I'm going to get like a freshman 75. So I started eating more and more, you know, foods that were a little bit outside of my comfort zone. Started eating soups and decided, wait a minute, soup is delicious. Started eating rice and going like, wait a minute, rice is fantastic. Tastes decent on its own, soaks up the sauce of whatever is on top of it. It's a dream come true. And then when I moved out, you know, my friends and I had an off-campus house. It was like, I was good to go. You know, that's how I learned how to cook. Following recipes online and eventually doing our own thing. A lot of people in the streaming universe haven't had that opportunity, and, you know, it's good for them and bad for them. If I was 17 and they were like, hey, you can transition into the streaming thing full-time, I would be like, first off, was streaming. 2 years ago, I had 56K internet. Secondly, I would be like, where do I sign up? Because all I want to do is eat chicken fingers for the rest of my life. Play video games. So the fact that the Earth played a cruel trick on me and made me think I would have to become a working cog in the machine, actually, I think has worked out nicely for me. But I think that they should just teach a little bit more of that mandatorily in high school. Why do you have to make it mandatory, by the way? I know some of you out there are going, I'm a smart kid, and I don't want to have to waste my time learning how to do this stuff. You don't get a choice in the matter. That's just the way it is, you know? If math can be mandatory up through 10th grade, when the majority of people are out there going like, I don't know what this is. And I respect mathematics, by the way. Let's try that out for size. Out for size, on for size, you get the idea. We should not have bought... maybe we should have bought that, actually. We can do something good with that. Then home ec should be mandatory. I would have been mad, by the way, if in 9th grade I was like, I have to take home ec. I'd rather just take a science class. That's exactly why you need to take home ec. Too much of an egghead. Trust me, so take that time when you're young to round off the elements of your personality that are ill-developed. I promise you that, you know, if you're a very scientific-minded individual, taking a creative writing class or a public speaking course or something like that when you're 14, 15, 16, 17, it's going to pay way more dividends than, you know, skipping ahead in chemistry ever so slightly. Now, as I'm saying that, I'm also like, keep in mind I am an idiot and I don't know what I'm talking about for the most part. Just my 2 cents. That's if you want to be well-rounded. If you want to be the kind of guy who's just like, oh yeah, that's Tom, he's the chemistry guy, then by all means. Get out of here. Just my 2 cents. People always talk about, like, you know, there should be like a financial planning course in college too, or in high school too. Dude, I could not agree more. I actually think at high school, here's the thing, is like, you do learn a lot in high school, but like, you're there for so much time regardless. They might as well teach you some things that are a little bit more useful, in my opinion. Like, I think gym should be a mandatory class up through like 12th grade. I guess my idea of high school is that it should really be like military academy or something like that. Like, it should be basic training. Like, I'm mad that not every high school student is jacked. You're in school 7 hours a day. Just take 40 minutes to make a mandatory gym class for every year. It should be like Ender's Game. Once you get over the age of 25, whatever you do with your body is fine, okay? But when you're like the up-and-coming generation, and you already got that time in school anyway, this is getting weird. It's not because I want to look at it. I'm just saying. It's the folly of an adult, you know, is that now that I'm older, I'm like, man, I wasted so much time when I was younger. It's another youth wasted on the young sort of situation. What do we got in here? I will take Sack of Sacks. We're on Dank Depths 1. I will take Pandora's Box, because we actually need the HP as it stands right now. It's a really, really good run, by the way, and it actually is, bizarrely, because we have Hemolacria, but it is kind of like one of the more traditionally good runs we've had. Oh my god, Sack of Sacks is an extension cord enabler. I didn't even consider that, but that's... It's not like it's amazing, but it is kind of funny. Anyway, I've gone down this tangent on a commentary standpoint many times in the past. But it's because, you know, as a 29-year-old, I don't get to tell too many people how to live their lives. So I have to resort to telling people who are like 10 years younger than me how to live their lives. I can't tell a 60-year-old how to live your life. He's going to be like, act like you've been there before. Fair enough. More power to you, my friend. I found myself being like, I really hope I get a deal with the devil. And then I thought for 2 seconds and was like, why? Okay, we still got an item room to visit, though. This is the most confident I've felt in success on an Isaac run in a long, long time. We actually have, like, hurting power. I like... The stats that should be in the single digits are... Well, not in the single digits, but that's because the only stat that I want in the single digits is tears. And I guess speed being in the single digits is nice as well. But our stats that should be in the double digits are in the double digits, and that's where I like to see them. And if you're finding yourself being pedantic, well, actually, speed has 3 significant figures. You know what? Go back to 11th grade physics class with Miss Anthony, alright? Poindexter. I'm an adult. I don't use significant digits too often in my life. The only time I use significant digits is when I get an assignment or a spec that's like rounded to 2 significant digits, and then I Google JavaScript significant digits, and it's always like, you know, math.round value times 100 divided by 100 or something. And you're gonna say that sounds ridiculous. Look it up. You're gonna find the same Stack Overflow page I have, because that's what Stack Overflow is predicated upon, is being crawled by the Google spiders like that. Dude, why is everything on the internet named so... It's always like cyberpunk names that we've just forgotten about because of the fact that we've been immersed in it for so long. Even the fact that we use engines so much. What's Google? A search engine. What's Unity or Unreal? A game engine. Previously, they only used engine for like 2 things. One of them would be like a vehicle, and the other one would be like horror novels. They'd be like, it's an engine of massacre or something like that. It's an eldritch, you know, H.P. Lovecraft construct that just eats souls. Now we're like, oh yeah, go to the search engine. That sounds so, like, magical. Even the concept of internet. If the internet didn't actually exist, and somebody said the phrase internet, you'd be like, what, is that from like a Robert Heinlein novel? Yeah, an interconnected series of filing cabinets. That makes a whole lot of sense. Let me know when I get my flying car. I'm all for the cyberpunk future, by the way. Sign me up. I'm all for Cyberpunk 2077. I mean, who isn't? You know why? Here's how you can be confident. And you should never... obviously, you should never pre-order. That's like so... commonly repeated these days, that if you're still pre-ordering, I just have to assume that you have some inside information that I don't, or some kind of desire for it, and that's fine. Everybody knows you shouldn't pre-order, but people still act like when they say it, it's like gospel from on high. Like you're the Bhagwan. But anyway, yes, that's a reference to Wild Wild Country on Netflix. Great documentary. I would recommend watching if you're not strapped for time, if you got some time to, you know, enjoy a deep dive into one of the United States' most curious news stories. Anyway, here's how I know Cyberpunk is gonna be good, or even great. I went to Iceland for a Paradox media event in early 2013. 2013. Many of y'all watching this were not even born yet. Just go ahead and think back to how different life was for you in 2013, if it was. It's more than 5 years ago now because it was in January of 2013. While I was there, I was hanging out with a PR professional who worked in some context with CD Projekt Red and was like, check it out, we got this cool new trailer coming out for our game, and it was Cyberpunk 2077. Just to be clear, I didn't see the trailer in advance. He was just like, we're preparing for this like big announcement that they're working on this new game. This was in advance of The Witcher coming out. The Witcher 3, I should say. Help. I'm actually stoked we got less than 3, because we'll be able to make that work for us. But, so then, like, the day after I got home, the Cyberpunk 2077 trailer came out, and then there was no news on it for almost 5 years. That's how you know this game's gonna be good. You know, we talked in the last episode about the Culling 2, and how they're like, hey, the Culling 2's coming out. When is it coming out? Friggin' tomorrow. Doesn't inspire a lot of confidence, right? In this unique situation. Mostly because the trailer kind of looked bad. Cyberpunk 2077 is like the exact opposite. It's like, hey, we're working on this thing. I hope you'll be excited to hear some more news about it in 5 years when we've made enough progress to show it off. That's cool, dude. That's how... That game may not come out until 2022, and I'm still on board with it. Usually if a game takes 10 years to make, it's a terrible sign of mismanagement. In this unique case... I mean, I guess I can't say for sure that it's, like, guaranteed to be good, but I think it inspires a lot of hope. It's not like they showed off a demo and then, like, 5 years later people are like, where's the game? It's like they have a concept and 5 years later they're like, here's the game. Everything I heard about it from people that were at E3 was extremely positive as well. I have faith. And yeah, I know CD Projekt Red, you know, everyone says it's a great company, but then simultaneously, you know, they have crunch culture and they probably, you know, by industry standards, underpay their programmers. There's all... Everything is political these days, and I don't even mean that in an exasperated way. You know, maybe it's good. I'm deliberately taking a very milquetoast stance on this because I'm just ill-informed. But they do make good games. Like, there's a reason The Witcher 3 is looked upon as, like, this gold standard in the industry. It's a sprawling, uncompromising, mature game. It has... you know, deservedly left, like, a really lasting legacy. And Gwent's pretty cool, too. Alright. Mind you, I remember almost nothing. There's, like, a few subscriber stream games I played on Twitch where I have almost no memory of the story whatsoever. It may surprise you, God of War is not one. And it's not really indicative... Oh, you fool. Of my enjoyment or lack of enjoyment in the game. It's more just like, you know, we played The Witcher 3 over the course of like 5 months of the subscriber stream. I remember so little of the story because I digested it in 3-hour intervals once weekly. The other one that I have almost no memory of is Fallout 3. Now, I'll make no apologies about the fact that I actually did not really like Fallout 3. I'm not trying to say it's a bad game. Maybe I spoiled the broth by playing it 9 years after it came out, where it's less likely to seem as impressive as it did upon release. And then also I played it after playing New Vegas, which I love. Hey, stop that. But I have almost no memory of Fallout 3. Like, here's what I remember about Fallout 3. You're in Washington, D.C., you go talk to dude at the radio station, and then, like, Liam Neeson's there. 12 hours later, there's a big old mech that shows up. That's pretty much my entire memory of Fallout 3. I should probably go back and watch, like, a recap of what happened in that game, because I feel like I've missed out. It was a sandbox for me. There's an oil tanker. I remember that. Put it in perspective, I understand more of the Metal Gear Solid 2 Sons of Liberty story than I do of the Fallout 3 story. which is a great indication that it's time for me to revisit that game potentially in some capacity. Yeah, I know. There's a vamp. Yeah, I know. That's the thing, is of all the things in Metal Gear Solid 2 that, you know, don't make sense and you just kind of like hand wave it and go, well, that's Kojima. The one that gets me every time is just the fact that the dude who places the bombs all over the big shell wears rollerblades. Like, it's just an adult wearing rollerblades to accomplish their nefarious aims just doesn't make sense to me. It just seems inefficient, but again, you know, I'm not Kojima qualified to talk about this stuff. And so when I understand the purpose of his rollerblades, I'll be ashamed of my words and my deeds. Perhaps. What do you got for me? Bone Hearts. Can't say I'm excited. This is a huge floor, by the way. We ended up doing almost the entirety of it. For our troubles, what did we get? We got a little brim, which is fine. And our damage is actually, like, completely acceptable. I'm far from, like, upset about the way things are going. I'm not gonna fight Hush, though. It's not that kind of run. It would give us an extra deal with the devil, which if it contributed to Guppy would be nice, but... Joker. Well, Succubus is insanely great. I like how Succubus says damage booster. It's not really what I'd consider it as. You're not wrong. But it's like saying, you know, the Pittsburgh Penguins are a Stanley Cup winning team because they have Chris Letang. It's like, yeah, he helped, but I think you're forgetting about, you know, having the strongest 1-2 punch at center that, you know, any team in post-lockout NHL history has had, in the form of Sidney Crosby and Evgeny Malkin. Doesn't Evgeny Malkin sound like a Russian dairy? Like that's where you would go to get your half and half for your morning coffee? Come on, that was lighthearted. That was meant to be a wholesome joke. Don't make it weird. Well, if the run is foretold to be very strong, which it certainly looks like right now, I want to go full insane. We already have piercing shots, which is good and bad with Hemolacria, but I'll treat it as a positive. Give me Cricket's body. I want to see, like, these shots go buck wild. Give me euthanasia. I want to see our shots that kill create other shots that maybe can do the exact same thing. Give me Holy Light, so that we can create a font. Not of the Times New Roman variety. I wish I knew a more font-related pun I could use there. All I can think of is Palatino, Lena type, and Comic Sans. Not much of a font guy to be. Not much of a graphic design guy to begin with. If you ever go back and look at what, like, computer applications look like in the year 1998, that's the kind of stuff I'm making right now. It's like, well, Windows gives you the ability to make a layout with this tool. Why would I use anything else? You know, all my websites look like game FAQs circa 1994. I just don't have an eye for design. You know, there's been a lot of conversation lately on games Twitter. I don't know if you spend time on Twitter. I don't know if you spend time on games Twitter. So you might be way out of the loop on this one, and that's fine. But there's been a discussion, you know, oh, what coding is hard, but art is easy. And then people have been like, nah, you're crazy, it's all hard. And then somebody will be like, you know, there's been a lot of arguments about it. You know, what is a true game developer? Is a writer of a game developer? Is an artist a game developer? Is an animator a game developer? Is a coder a game developer? I think the answer is yes to all of those. And the other answer is who cares? You know, like, I'm not going to worry about somebody You know, if somebody's a janitor and they want to call themselves a sanitation expert instead, doesn't bother me, whatever gets you through the day. You know, put that on your resume, milk the corporation for money as a result of your enhanced job title, and live your life. I want to see if this will work. Okay, so I didn't stand still long enough, but... It's merely decent. If we could really up our rate of fire, that could change it, though. But, dude, as someone... I'm here to tell you, okay? Is coding hard? Well, yes and no, you know? Is throwing a 100-mile-an-hour fastball hard? Yes and no, right? Can't be that hard. You know, in the 1998 season, Randy Johnson did it 75 times a game. You know why he did it 75 times a game? Because he practiced, trained, a little bit of God-given natural talent as well. Coding is easy. Just all you do is you type letters into an IDE, or if you're a masochist, I guess, you're not even an IDE. Coding well, more difficult, obviously, and I say that as someone who has never done it, so... Same with writing, you know. Is writing easy? Yeah, you just, you know, I have a story in my head. But there are really, really bad ways to tell stories. There's really, really good ways to tell stories. Art is actually the one that I don't understand at all. Is art hard? I would say, yeah, dude. I can have a picture of something in my mind. For whatever reason, I find it very difficult to translate it to the page. But, I don't know, I always find it... I get annoyed sometimes. People act like you have to have been touched by, you know, the... spirit of Linus Torvalds and John Carmack themselves in order to be good at coding. Like, I can't do coding. I'm not good at math. Dude, have you ever seen me play Slay the Spire? You can figure out... Pardon me, I'm dying. You can figure out what an array is without, you know, having an incredible knowledge of mathematics. It's different. It's not 1985 anymore. Maybe you're not going to be writing OpenGL drivers or something like that, but you can figure it out. Just a learned skill like anything else. I think. That's my perspective. I don't know. You might disagree. And now I work at SpaceX and the Trajectory Corporation, and you're really oversimplifying the simplicity of code. Okay, sure. Fair enough. Sort of. It's actually like highly unfair, but I'll let you get away with it. I'm that kind of guy. It's all hard to do at a high level. You know, you can write words on a page. It doesn't make you James Joyce. You can put paint on a canvas. That doesn't make you, you know, a famous painter. Come on, NL, you know one famous painter. Alexander Van Gogh. Anyway, thanks for watching. I should have said Pokemon Van Gogh. If you enjoyed the episode, click the like button. It helps out a great deal. Of course, subscribe if you want to see more in the future. For now, thanks for watching. I will see you next time.